Hello and welcome to another webinar Wednesday. That we're doing on a Thursday. Well, it's Wednesday in the US. Hi, Kevin and Mark. How are you guys going today?
Good, thanks, Megla.
Hi, Megla. Hi, Mark. How you going? Very well.
Awesome. So today we've got Verity Sewell from Smart Little Space. She's going to be doing a presentation talking about how you can build an extraordinary brand on Amazon. And Verity's, in fact, done a workshop for us on listing optimization that was very successful. In fact, her next workshop is coming up in July. So in case anyone's interested, you can go to theasianseller.com and check out her workshop. We'll talk a little bit about the workshop later as well. But before we bring Verity on, there are a couple of things that we wanted to talk about. First of all, next week we've got our product discovery bootcamp with Tim Jordan coming up. So in case anyone is interested to sign up for this bootcamp, head over to theasianseller.com/bootcamp. Check it out. It's a 2-day bootcamp where Tim teaches his methods of finding private label products. This is the 4th bootcamp that we are hosting. It's the previous 3 sessions have been very, very successful. A lot of people have found success and found products to launch on Amazon. And yeah, check it out over here on this website. The other thing that we wanted to talk about was, the situation in India, of course, as most of you know, is very heartbreaking. There are a lot of people being affected by COVID. So we wanted to do something to help with the situation because all of us are in some way or the other connected with India. And so we have partnered with a charity organization called Dipalia, and we're going to be hosting an 8-hour live and virtual charity sing-a-thon to help raise money for Dipalia so they can help COVID families that are affected or families that are affected by COVID in India. And everybody is really talking about the lack of oxygen and the lack of beds, and a lot of the funds that are being raised are being directed towards this, these sort of initiatives, which is really the need of the hour right now. But what's happening is that people are forgetting that there are a lot of underprivileged families and children, especially, who are very vulnerable at this, during this situation because there are lockdowns in cities and there are curfews, they don't have jobs. And so we want to try to help those people who are indirectly affected by COVID. So that sing-a-thon is coming up on May 22nd, Saturday. If you're joining us from Australia and Singapore, Australia and Asia, it's Saturday, May 22nd. If you're joining us from the US, it's Friday, May 21st. So we've also created
an event.
Megla, could I just mention that we have Jaswant, who's an integral part of Dipalia, and she's going to be talking and possibly bringing some sort of videos of the past weeks to us, and maybe sort of some of the kids and some of the actual events that are actually happening, just to show everybody or share with everybody what actually is going on at the moment over there, and if we can sort of help in any small way. And we've been working tirelessly the last 2 weeks to try and put this together and to share it with as many sort of partners as we can to bring the event to the fore. So we're just looking for any help whatsoever, and any small amount can really help the situation the way it's unfolding at the moment.
Exactly. We need everybody's help to share this event. So if you go to the India Sourcing Network Facebook page, you'll see that there is an event over there. If you could share it on your profile in any groups that you're part of, that would be great. We just want to generate as much awareness as possible of this event. And there's going to be a link to donate. We're going to share the link over there. And so we're just going to be asking everybody to donate as much as they can. Every penny counts. So even if you can do $5, $10, $15, everything really helps. So that's coming up. And we've got singers from around the world joining us for this sing-a-thon. We've got singers from the US, Australia, India, Singapore. So it's going to be a very interesting and global event.
Yep.
Okay, we have Daniel joining us. He's saying, hi from Brazil. My heart and prayers are with India people. Thank you, Daniel. That's so nice.
Thanks, Daniel.
Donate via PayPal to make easier for international donations. I think you should be able to donate on that platform. So basically what we've done is, or Deepalia has set up a campaign on one of the crowdsourcing kind of platforms, Give India. And, they offer all of the payment gateways. So I think you should be able to pay via PayPal. I'll check and let you know otherwise.
Yeah, well, we're working on that for them to have an adequate gateway. And so that'll all be sorted out before next week.
Yeah. Thank you, Roz.
Thanks, Roz.
Okay, so let's get started with our show today. I'm going to invite Verity on screen. Hi, Verity. How are you going?
Hello. Hi, everyone. So nice to be back.
How are you?
Hello, Verity.
How it feels these days. Back on stage with you guys. So yeah, it's great. We can talk about some exciting branding things today.
Fantastic. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, Kevin, go ahead.
How's Walter?
I think he's just hopped onto my bed, so hopefully he stays quiet. So if anyone hears something, that is Walter, which is my gorgeous standard poodle, but he's quite well known for, showing up on screen or hearing him in the background. I think everyone that's worked with me knows Walter, so he's like, I apologise, that's what you can hear. But yeah,
don't apologise. We all love Walter.
Hope he's quiet for me.
Walter and Bryson.
I know. The joys of working at home, I think. So, yeah, that's how it goes.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, Verity. So let's get started. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes,
and let's
I'm going to
get right into it.
Share my
Verity is
screen.
awesome. Hi to Walter also.
Hi,
Walter's got some friends.
Okay, so let's see how we go here. So let me just put on presenter mode. Now I'm going to lose you all, so
that's okay. We can see you.
If someone brings anything up. All right, okay. Fantastic. So today we're going to talk about a really exciting topic, which I love to present about, and some of you might have heard me talking a little bit about this, but hopefully there's lots of you that haven't heard it, so we'll jump into this. So we're going to talk about building an extraordinary brand for Amazon. And the reason that I'm so passionate about talking about this topic is because I've had a lot of experience working with product brands, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but and how that experience has sort of changed my whole thinking about how we go about growing our businesses on Amazon. And it's a topic that's not really talked about all that much. And the reason that we don't talk about branding all that much is because a lot of us, when we start in this business and we look for products and we start on this private label journey, we don't talk about branding because there's so much that we've actually got to do to find a product in the first place. So we really focus in on finding a product, learning the platform, getting it set up. Just doing that is huge. So what happens is when we're taught a lot of this, most people don't talk about the brand aspect, because just getting over those hurdles is so big that this is sort of like an add-on, and that's how they see it. But having worked with a lot of established brands who come to the platform to sell on there as an additional revenue stream, so they look at it very differently. These are brands that are already established in a marketplace. They might have a website. They might have been in brick and mortar stores. They might sell on other channels, and they come to look on Amazon to sell as an additional revenue stream. And for them, they focus solely on the fact that they are a brand, and Amazon's just a place for them to sell. So I think taking that thinking and being able to relay this information to you, so if you're a private label seller, and understanding how important this can be is a real game changer, especially in such a competitive landscape. So this is going to show you how you can go from having a private label products to turning them to an amazing brand that you really can go and sell anywhere, that you're really proud of, and how you can really beat the competition by doing this. We're always looking for new strategies of how we can make ourselves stand out. So this is going to show you how we do it. So before we jump into it all, I know I had a quick introduction, but I'm Verity Sewell, and I live in Perth in Western Australia with Walter and my lovely fiance. So I have been dealing with Amazon and in the Amazon space since about 2012. And I started where all of you started. I started as a private label seller. So I always think that's important to put that out there, that I have been where you are, and it's taken me many, many years of learning the platform and how that works. And most recently, I was in a very privileged position to actually work with product brands and help them establish on the platform. And that is why this whole branding space is so special to me, because I've had this inside look at what brands actually do and when they come to the platform to sell. And they have a very different way of thinking. It's a different mindset that comes to it. And that's what I want to share with you today. So how do these big brands go about setting up on Amazon, and how you can actually copy a lot of what they're doing, the way they're thinking about their business, so that you can grow. So let's jump into it. So that's just another little slide there. So I like to start this with this quote, and I think it's very appropriate because it's from Jeff Bezos. But he says, "Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room." So I think we should all sort of stop and think, well, how do we want to be represented? What do we want people to say about our brand when they buy from us or they see us? And we all know, all of us today that are listening to this or listen back to this, can think of a brand which you would always go back and buy. And you love it, and you've got to think about, why is it that you love it? And you're going to replicate that in your own products that you sell on Amazon. So I think that's quite an appropriate statement to start with. So as I said, I've worked with a lot of brands, and I've looked inside those businesses to see what is it that makes them tick? How do they become successful? And why do they seem to do really, really well on Amazon when they often come to the platform with no knowledge, but they have these amazing products and brands, and then they set up and they do well? How does that work? So some of the things that I've been taught over the years, and I think would be great to share with you today, is that they look at their brand as being the most valuable asset in their business. So they actually see it as their business is the brand. That's how they look at it. That your brand needs to be more than just a name, a logo, and a tagline. So a lot of you will be doing things at the moment like trademarking, and you will be thinking to yourself, I'm a proper brand, I'm trademarked. And it's so much more than that. There's a lot more that we need to get out of it than just a name, a logo, and a tagline. You should be striving to commit the brand story to your customer's memory. And I think that's a really good point, is that you want people to remember you. Why were you so good? Why is it that you go and buy certain products in the shops all the time or order online? Why do you go back to certain brands? So they've built a brand story that you have been fed into, and you need to think about how you can do that for your customer audience. Branding can equal the customer's overall perception of your business. And we will talk about this, and this really links into that perceived value. So that can help you with your pricing and keeping your pricing slightly higher and things like that. So that's really important. Branding builds trust. So if we've got a private label product and it's just got a name on it, that's about it. It's got some interesting looking photos that aren't really optimized, as we would say, then often we don't really trust it, and we think, oh, it might come and it might not meet our expectations. But when we put a brand around it, we build that message and that style around it, we suddenly have that trust in it and we're willing to buy from them. So that's really important as well. Customers choose brands over low price unbranded products. So from that pricing point of view, it is really important, because Amazon can be a slippery slope down when you're trying to compete. So how can you keep your price slightly higher? By putting that amazing brand around your products. You want to be cohesive, and this is really, really vital to doing well. So this means that if you are selling on a website, you're selling on Amazon, you sell on other channels like, let's just say, Etsy or eBay or anything like that, you want to be able to flick between all of those marketplaces. You might sell in stores, and it could be your packaging, all of that. You want to be able to look at it all and know that it's all from the one brand. And sometimes people get so excited about how they're going to visually represent their brand and put the messaging out there, but it becomes a little bit non-cohesive. I don't even know if that's a word, but basically we don't realize that it's all the same brand. We want to be able to look from each platform and know it's all one. And that builds that trust. They say, oh, well, if you're selling on your website, you're selling on Amazon, I'm likely to go buy from you because I know that you're a real product brand. Without strong branding, you're only competing on price. So we've talked a little bit about that already. And sellers who have strong brand strategy and presence have direction and clarity and outperform those without it. So that's really important. And when we're in such a competitive landscape, we're going to want to do everything we can to stand out on that platform. And it really creates long-term success because it gives you vision. It lets you know exactly the direction that you're going to go in, and you can grow from there. So I really want to change your thinking about this, because there will be a lot of you that will say to me, oh, I'll just do it later. I don't need to do it now. I can think about this at some other point. I just need to focus on finding that winning product doing my research, and they're all important things. But I really want you to get into this headspace of building a brand, not just a product. So I just want you to take a second. You don't have to type this in or anything like that. Just, think it in your head or put it down on some paper. But would you describe yourself as an Amazon seller? So those that are selling on Amazon, would you describe yourself as an Amazon seller? Just write down yes, or yeah, I think I am, or no, whatever your answer is, whatever you think. So just give you a second to do that. All
Maybe
right.
we can, so type in the comments if you think you are an Amazon seller. Say yes in the comments. Let's see. And we can keep going, Verity.
Yes. Okay.
Slight delay.
All right. So we'll jump into the next slide. So this is where I want you to pause and totally change your thinking about this. You are a brand, and Amazon is the distribution channel that you sell on. So you're not really an Amazon seller, you're a brand, and that's how you need to think about yourself. And that is the main thing that the brands that I've worked with that do really, really well, that's how they think. That's how their mindset is, that they're a brand, that's their business. And Amazon's just a place they come to sell. And if you're not thinking that way, then you're missing something here, and it's going to stop you growing. So let's just pause for a second, because some of you go, whoa, what did you just say? So think about it like this. If we took Amazon away, what would you be left with? You'd be left with your product. And so if you've just got a product and no brand, well, you don't have much going on. So that's why you want to build a brand around your product, and you can expand that. So you might have multiple products, and your brand is its little home. And that means that wherever you go to sell, they are all distribution channels. It could be Etsy, it could be eBay, it could be a website, could be like stores, could be Amazon, it can be one of them. So they are all just places for you to sell your brand. So I really want you to think about that, because I think if we remove this whole concept of I'm an Amazon seller, we suddenly immediately think, oh, well, what am I? I need to be a brand. So it really shifts us into that space. So I think that's a really good thing. Take a screenshot, put it on your desk if you need to, but remember, you're a brand, and Amazon's the distribution channel that you're selling on. So if we haven't already covered off on this at the start here, but why branding? So let's dive into this even further. So branding is about creating a blueprint for your product-based business. So what do I mean by this? If you were to build a house, would you just expect that the builders would turn up and you'd say to them, I'd like a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a double garage. Now go and make it. I'd like it to be this style. That's about it. And then off you go. You would never do that, right? Because you don't know what's going to come out. They don't know where to start. And that's the same thing about your brand. You want to create a blueprint so that you know the direction you're going in. And branding will do that, because you're going to look at the strategy of what you're doing. You're going to look at the style and all of those things, but it's creating the foundation for you to work from. So what will implementing a brand strategy do for you? So you become instantly more memorable with customers. They're more likely to repeat purchase, and we would all love more sales, and we would love people to come back and keep buying from us, wouldn't we? That would be ultimately the goal. So this way, if we are really memorable to our customers, they will more likely to come back. And we know that because if we go shop at the supermarket, this is a really common example. There's so many foods, all of you can tell me something that you go to the shops and you only buy that. When I go to the shops and I want to buy coffee pods for my coffee machine, I tend to always go for the same brand. And I don't often go for the unbranded things. I'm not sure. I think, oh, I don't know. I'll just go back and buy the brand that I like. So we become memorable, and I go straight to the shops and I look for it and I can spot it straight away. So we become memorable to those customers. You get that brand loyalty. So customers would rather buy from you than from the competition, which is exactly that example I just gave from you. And we can control the price. So you can shift away from having to drop your price, which we see a lot of on Amazon, people dropping prices to compete. But you'll be able to charge a higher value due to the perceived value. And we will use an example of this in another slide about how that happens. It builds a connection between you and your target market. So they sort of become invested in you and that connection that you build. It builds that long-term value. So if you ever want to sell the business or acquire investors and funding, having a very strong brand plan, blueprint that you've got set out is going to help you immensely. So building a brand, not just a product, should start from the beginning. So for some of you that are listening to this concept you might be thinking, oh, I've already got my product. I really haven't focused on branding. This is probably what I should be doing. That's what I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to convince you to do. But it should be part of your foundation. So if you're just starting out, if you're listening to this and you're only just starting, then this is definitely something that you should be implementing straight away. But if you are already selling, you've already got products, you can always go back and implement this. But if you are going to start, say, a new brand product, then try and do it at the start. It makes things a lot easier and it gives you a lot more focus. So where you should be, but most sellers aren't. So this is talking about if you're going from the product seller through to the established brand. So we can see over here that we start as the new private label seller. So there'll be a lot of you that are in that space that are listening to this. And most sellers that are the new private label sellers, they do not have any branding and they stay in that stage. They just sort of don't get out of that stage. It's very common. To move to the next stage, you want to go to the brand growth stage. And that's when you're listening to all this and you start implementing all these strategies and you're striving to build that brand. So you're starting to put all those pieces of the puzzle together. That's where everyone should experience. That's the spot that everyone should go to. So if you haven't done it, you want to go to it. Now, if you're an established brand, you've already been through this stage. So everyone should experience that middle part. And for established brands, they usually have extensive branding and they've really got that marketplace growth going on. And only a small percentage really get to that. So think of this as a bit of a challenge that you really want to get to that stage. So what happens when you do not implement brand strategy to your product-based business? So you start to lack clarity and business direction, so you don't know which way you're going. It slows your overall growth because when we've got a plan in place, we know exactly the direction that we want to go in. And when we don't, we often stop, we pause. Or often what happens is in 12 months' time, you don't really know where you're going. And then you go, oh, I'm going to give it up because I don't know where this is going. I'm not sure. And because you don't have that plan. So it does definitely slow down your overall growth. Without branding, your business is more vulnerable. Your customers won't know you or choose you in such a competitive landscape. So if you don't implement this strategy and you're on Amazon and that you're in a competitive, category, people will just go and choose someone else that's looking better, that's more branded because they don't remember you. They're not going to come back. And overall, you're not building a brand asset. So this asset is such an important part to your business. And if you're ever wanting to sell, this is something that you really want to have in place. So how is branding going to help your business grow? So building a brand is actually going to help your growth. You're going to know the direction and you'll have that blueprint in place. So you know exactly what's going on. It's the way to grow and scale your business and increase equity in your business. And it is also building that asset, which we're going to talk about in this slide. So we all know that cash is king, but cash flow struggles are so real in this business. So for anyone that's sitting here thinking, I haven't got to this stage yet where cash flow is an issue, I would love to experience that. I have been there. I have sat at things and thought, wouldn't that be great if I was in that position when I started out? And when it happens, it's a nightmare. So it means that if you don't have the cash available, it means you can't buy stock. You might not be able to buy into that new product you want to, get into as your second product, things like that. So that cash flow really starts to strangle the business and then you can't grow to where you want it to go to. To accelerate growth, businesses often look towards funding investors. So it's actually quite common that product-based businesses do look for funding and investors to come on board to help them get to that next level. But to successfully secure this kind of capital, you're really going to need a compelling story and a brand story to go on your business. And if you don't have that, you're basically saying, well, why would you invest? If you don't have that brand story there's no reason for them to come on board. So you really want to create something where these investors come in and say, I definitely want to be part of that and I'm happy to invest in that. I think it's worthwhile. So a strong brand presence builds the know, like, and trust factors. So we always go back to the products that we know because we trust them and because we like them. So it's helping us to create that, and then we're going to get those repeat purchases, which we all would love. So let's talk about this perceived value. Now, this is a really good example. So this only occurred to me not that long ago when I was talking to my uncle who is in the car industry. And we were talking about cars one day for some reason. And he said to me, you know, Verity, you realize that a lot of those luxury cars, they're owned by the same company. So the company owns them, but they have different brands. And he said, so when you pop the bonnet of that luxury one, it's often the same engine as that less luxury car brand. So the more standard brand. And I was just thinking to myself, are you sure? Like, is that what happens? But we are drawn in to the branding that they have put out there for us to go, oh, it's luxury, so I'm happy to pay more money, which goes straight into that whole pricing thing. Yep, I'll pay the same price, even though the thing that's actually making the car work is the same. So it's really interesting. This happens to us a lot. And that's where I think this is a good example to really get you into that headspace, that if we create really strong branding messaging around our products, we can sell at that high price. We can be seen as something that you might not have thought you were at the start. We do know that 53.4% of shoppers are more willing to buy a brand that they're not familiar with on Amazon than they would on any other store. Now, the reason I put this in is that when I've run workshops and worked with clients and different things, especially when we talk about put your brand name at the start of your title and those kinds of strategies, I do hear a lot of people say to me, but why would I bother doing that? Because I'm not a big brand. No one would know me. I'm not an Apple. I'm not a Lego. I'm not a Nike. So they're not looking for my brand. But we know that on Amazon, people are willing to go and try new brands. So you don't have to worry about being the new brand that, you know, people don't know you that well yet. People are willing to give you a go. So it's a great platform to really start when you're starting out, to be growing your brand. It's like the ideal place for you to be on. Now, this is something that once I've told you this, you will start spotting this everywhere. But Amazon's working towards being a very brand-focused platform. So if you haven't noticed this already, you're about to notice it everywhere. Basically, everything that they're doing at the moment is really so that you will show up as a seller to be a serious brand. That's what they want to work with. They don't want to work with the private label sellers that aren't really serious about what's going on. They really want to become a brand-focused platform. And how do we know that? Well, if we start looking at what they're actually providing to the sellers, so we've got things recently like the IP Accelerator program so that you can become brand registered. So that's forcing you basically down that trademark space. And they're really making it easier for you to do it, but they're saying you need to do it or you're not really going to be able to win on the platform. And we'll probably get to a point at some time in the future where they say, if you're not trademarked, you can't sell on here. That's probably where that will eventually go. And we've even seen things like in the UK where you can't write in your description with HTML anymore. And so they're really forcing you then to use things like the A+ content and the storefront features, which become part of brand registry. So they're giving you opportunity to show off your brand, to show more visual content, to explain what you're all about. So it's gone from a very faceless platform to a platform that they're really wanting brands to talk about themselves on there and what they're all about. We even know with advertising that the features that they're offering now, so we've got videos and all the images, and we can put headline ads with our logos and things like that. That's really pushing down that brand space. We've got Amazon Live, so you can really talk to your consumer and the customer. We've got the transparency and the Project Zero that have come in to protect your brand, which has been a huge thing. And we've even got the Amazon Launchpad, which has come in for new brands. So we know overall they're really going after the brand space. So if you're not doing this, if you're not going to be thinking about this, you're going to miss out. And in a year or two, you'll probably find you're way behind and everyone's moving forward that's going down this brand space because Amazon's funneling you into that. So we really want you to move into this space as soon as you can. So your brand must be more than a name, a logo, and a tagline. So we talked about that. So I'm going to give you these two examples. There's this one and there's this one. And we're going to use this as an example about how a brand, a product brand, has done this really, really well. So if you haven't heard of Yeti, go and look them up. They are amazing. I own some of their products. And that's why one of the reasons I've used them as an example, because I know how well they have done this. So firstly, their branding is really bold and it really stands out. So whenever we see it now, we know for what it is. But they went into a really competitive landscape. So they actually started out, so we'll just read this up here. In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: to build coolers we'd use every day if they existed, and one that was built with serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than the mass discounted retailers. So this kind of says a lot to us when we know that on Amazon there are those kind of a lot of those lower price products that maybe aren't as good. Now, these guys went into a really competitive landscape. They knew there were a lot of coolers out there, or in Australia we call them eskies. They knew that there was a lot of them out there, but they knew they could do this even better. But a lot of this was about how they represented this to the consumer and who they were going after. So we know they're really going after those outdoor enthusiasts. So they really honed in and went, you know what, these people are willing to pay more because my product is such quality, and I'm going to give that message to them. So they're going to make the best thing possible. But they have branded every single part of this business. So you go from their website, so over here, through to their, you look them up on Amazon, through to their packaging, every single part. They have spent really serious time looking at how they give off their branding messaging to give this trust with them. Now, I bought one of their coffee cups and they are brilliant. And when I ordered it, it arrived. And when I opened it up, it was all nicely packaged and it had this nice little sign on the outside. It told me how to care for it. They really went and put all this detail into it. And even when I opened the coffee cup, inside it was a little pamphlet, and it said that we are a trusted brand. We have a QR code you can click on to make sure we're like the real deal, all of that stuff. So they've really gone out of their way to implement brand strategy across everything. Their messaging is really smooth. We know that they use the same sort of terminology even in their copywriting, all of those kinds of things. So if you want to go and have a look at a really good brand, this is one to go and check out and see what they've done and how they've done it. So I would really highly recommend having a look at Yeti. And the other one that's a totally different kind of messaging is Ethique. And their products, some of you might have seen their products, especially their bars. So you'll see those in the little picture there. So this is actually a beautiful New Zealand brand. Now, the reason I put this in is because I want you to feel like you can actually achieve this. You don't have to be this big corporate to do this. So this brand started back in 2012. And the brand owner, Brianne, started by mixing the formulas up in her kitchen in Christchurch in New Zealand. And back then, zero waste wasn't a huge concern that it is today. And solid beauty bars weren't a thing. And they definitely weren't available from your supermarket or even Amazon. So they actually even quote that fact that they're on that platform. But they're saying that you don't have to be this huge brand to start with. You can obviously, all of these strategies take time to implement, but they have done this really, really well. And they're all about saving the planet. And so if you have a look on them on Amazon, you'll see their beautiful videos that they put up, all the colors, the way they lay everything out, all their photography, all of those kinds of things come across. So we can even see on their website, like the colors behind panels. They use a lot of logos, which is really important. So what they really stand for, so that they're really telling you that they're an ethical brand. And they have this little statement: we're here to put a bar in every shower to revolutionize the cosmetic industry. So they're all about not using plastic packaging. That's their thing. So if you're wondering what a solid beauty bar is, they do things like soaps, but they also do like shampoos and conditioners, and they're in a solid bar, like a soap bar. And so you're not having to have a plastic container that you squeeze the liquid out of, and then you end up with these thousands of bottles, which we know are problems. So they were looking at how could they save the planet with their beautiful products. So that's another one to have a look at, but just to remind yourself that you can start this at any point. You don't have to be the big retailer. You can start this branding experience even if you've just got one product that you're thinking about at the moment. So how do we actually do this? How do we actually build this extraordinary brand on Amazon? So the building blocks to success will start with mindset. And I know that's talked about a lot out there, but it's really true. So start thinking of yourself as a brand and Amazon as the distribution channel that you sell on. Because as soon as you start thinking I'm a brand, instantly you think I've got to do all these extra things to create my brand. So you're really going to think about it in a different perspective than I'm just going to find a product and I'm going to launch it on Amazon. You actually start to think about all those different parts. Working out your audience is going to be a big help to you. So sitting down and working out who is your target audience, and don't say Amazon buyers, because when I ask people this, that's usually what they say to me. It's got to be more than that. So this is about you sitting down and working out an avatar, an ideal target audience. So you could be thinking their mums, their dads, you know, their grandparents, they have animals or pets, they work full time, they there's a million things you could come up with about why someone would, you know, their time poor, all those kinds of things. There's a million things you could come up with. So to write down your ideal customer, you can call him whatever you or her, whatever you'd like, and putting all those points down will really help your messaging and your copywriting about who you're really going after. It means that when you're choosing colors for your branding, you know what you're going after. The tone of voice in your copy, you know who you're going after. You also should think about the offering. So this is often forgotten. So crafting an offering that a customer can't refuse. So this is talking about things like, you know, it could be pack sizes, it could be like the actual size of the item, it could be the price point, all those different offerings. It could come with something, you know, all of those things, thinking about those offerings and really how can you provide the best product possible. Creating a whole brand experience. So this means from when the customer first orders on Amazon through to you receiving it. Now we know that Amazon's going to take, if you're doing FBA, which you should be, is going to take a big chunk in that middle. They're going to have that experience. But think about the product when you're manufacturing, that when they look online, they might see this beautiful product. Now imagine receiving it and then you think, oh wow, that doesn't really, I thought it was gorgeous online, but I've received it and it's really not that great. We've all had that experience. It's not a good one, right? So we want to think about how can we make our product really beautiful, ticks all the box, someone wants to buy it, but when they also receive it, how is it, you know, even packaged up? You know, have you put it in a beautiful fabric bag, or have you put a little message inside? You know, just little things like that can make a huge difference. And someone goes, oh, wow, this was amazing. Look at me with Yeti. I'm still talking about them. You know, that experience when I received it, I knew it would turn up and all of that would be great. But when I opened it up and they had all this extra bit, they had stickers, they had all sorts of things in there, you know, it really stood out to me, and that's what you want to achieve. Your visual representation should be memorable. So you want people to come back and remember you. So whenever they see your brand, they see your colors, all those kinds of things, your logo, your products, they go, oh, I know who that is. You want to do some competitor research. So this is some of the first steps. So you've worked out who your target audience is, you've looked at all that, you've got your head into being a brand. Where do you start? So start with some competitor research. So take a screenshot if you'd like of this, and you can go back and you can do this after the call even. It doesn't take very long. But you need to start looking at what the competition is actually doing so you know where you fit in the landscape. Because you might find, wow, there's some really good brands in my that I'm competing with. And if you're not doing that, you're going to find it really hard. So find 3 to 5 competing brands that you would aspire to be like. So write down, they can be any brands that you think, oh, I'd love to look like that, I'd love to be like that, I'd love to offer that sort of product, all those kinds of things. Write down what would set your brand apart from the competition. So how can you be different? So you found the ones you like, what makes you different? So write some of those bullet points down. And then 3, what visual aesthetic drew you to that brand? Because at the end of the day, we're all visual. And that's why when we say it's so important to look at our hero images and things like that, because we are visual. So what drew you in? Was it the colors? Was it the style? Were there textures? Was it the layout? Was it, you know, this really modern minimalistic style? Or was it poppy and colorful and bright? And, you know, what was it that drew you in? What offers, products and services or unique qualities caught your eye when researching the competition? So you can put all those bullet points down. So they're really 4 great starting questions that you can put down about your customer research, competitor research, so that you know what you're up against. And then we want to start transforming you from the product seller that you are now through to the extraordinary brand. So what's the journey you're going to go along? So right now, you're sitting there listening to this, deciding, do I want to be a brand? And hopefully you're saying, yes, I do. I want to be a brand. I want this business to be amazing. So I'm definitely going to implement these strategies. So that's where you might be now. You're then going to move to the progression stage. So you can do that at any point. And this is where you might want to take a screenshot of this as well. You want to understand your brand. So this is where you would create a brand strategy document. You can do it on Canva, you can do it in a Word document, you can handwrite it, whatever you want. Brand strategy document. And this includes the visual elements. So this would also have things like a brand mood board, design and packaging, all those elements that go with it. It could be the copywriting style. All those things add up to your brand strategy. You're then going to move into the growth stage. So you've got your plan, then you're going to roll it out. So now you know what you're going to need, what your brand's all about, what you're like. You've got all that together in a document. And then you know that, okay, I need to start rolling this actually out. So I need to be updating my images. I need to be redoing my storefront. I need to be redoing my packaging, or I need to be starting all those things. And you don't have to do it straight away. So don't let that overwhelm you by me saying you might want to update that or change that. You can just do one thing at a time. You could just update one product, or you might be launching a new product and you just start with that to test it. So you don't have to overwhelm yourself. You can just start with one aspect at a time. It could be, I'm going to update my storefront. That can be it. And then you go to the next thing. This is all going to help you move into this extraordinary brand stage. So to get to that stage, and when you're in there, that's when you're going to focus on the marketing growth. You're always going to be looking at ways to optimize, to improve, to scale, and you are showing up, you're showing the world what your brand's all about. That's really where you want to get to. So something like Yeti and Ethique, they're at that stage. They're really honing in on the growth part of their business and the marketing, how they get the messaging out there, because they know they have a blueprint. They've got their strategy in place. They've got all those guidelines. They know the direction, and now they just go for it. And that's when you're in that space, it makes it so much easier. So there's a bit of upfront work, but the long term is really beneficial to you. So do you want to know the secret formula to building a extraordinary brand? So hopefully you're all yelling yes. So this is the formula that I like to follow. And again, I obviously don't have time today to go into mass depth, which we could. So I've laid it out into bullet points for you about what you need to do for each part. So take a screenshot again of this slide that you can go back and implement this. So firstly, you want to build a brand strategy. And that in that strategy document, you're going to want to have things about the brand discovery, so what you're all about, your target audience, all of those. You want to do your competitor research, which we've shown you how to do. You're going to look at your target audience and your brand voice and your brand message and story. So that's what you want to, if they're your headlines, you want to have them as headlines in your brand strategy document. So that's the first thing. You then going to want to move on to the brand identity, which a lot of you, for the creatives out there, will love this space. And a lot of you just want to sit in this space, but you really need to have the strategy first and then move into this. So this includes all the visual elements. This is creating your logo. This is writing a tagline. This is using colors and fonts. And this is looking at the image panel designs. This is your A+ storefront, video, advertising, print, packaging, all those visual elements. That's the brand identity. So that's how we know we recognize you. So that's the second stage. And then the third part of the formula is bringing the brand marketing together. So we've gone through the strategy, we know our identity, and then the brand marketing is about showing up on Amazon is going to be the first step. So this is where you can be. So if you weren't selling just on Amazon, that could be showing up on Amazon, Etsy, eBay. I use those examples, but wherever it might be, your website. So, but showing up on Amazon is the first huge step forward because you're actually advertising and marketing your product, but just being on the platform. You then want to start rolling out the PPC ads, your promotions. So promotions can be part of your brand strategy. It could be that we only run a promotion at a certain time of the year, or we aim towards selling products towards mums, so we really focus on a Mother's Day thing. That's a big thing. You can actually have a strategy around the promotions area. You might be looking at Amazon Live, or you might even be getting into Amazon ads and looking at Google ads and then getting into your social media, which I really recommend looking at things like Instagram. If you're, for product-based businesses, that's a great way to reach audience as well. So they are your 3 steps to the formula that you can follow, and you can break all those down to create this extraordinary brand that you're going to build. So we talked about this at the start, but keeping your branding cohesive. So this is just a really good visual of this as well. So once you've done all this page and you're at that point and you're rolling everything out, you want to make sure that everything from your listing through to your storefront, through to your ads and promotions to off Amazon space, so social media, websites, all those, that it all looks cohesive, that all the branding and messaging looks the same. We don't want to have one logo somewhere and not somewhere else. We don't want to have certain terminology somewhere and not somewhere else. We want it all to be cohesive. So be very careful that you do this, that you can look between all of these and know that you're the one brand. And that builds a big amount of trust. And the reason I say this is that we know that people that are shopping on Amazon, shoppers have become really savvy, and they don't want to be ripped off. They don't want that experience to happen. So they'll often go and search for you on a website to see, are you really a brand or are you just someone selling a product? So they're really looking for that to build that trust. So you want to make sure that if they do find you somewhere else, they go, yeah, this is the real deal. This is the brand. And they don't show up there and think, it sort of looks similar, but I'm not sure. So that cohesive messaging is really, really important. You also need to think about the customer experience throughout this whole experience of putting through your brand strategy guide and all the visual elements, the whole thing. You really want to think about the customer experience, because customers care about their own desires, not about yours. So they want to know that how your product is going to help them achieve that desired outcome. So that might be something that's worth adding into your strategy guide to think about that. How is your product going to help solve the problems and get them the desired outcome? You must connect to your customer audience. So to do this, you need to make that emotional connection. So think about how you can create that emotional connection. For Athik, it was definitely about that environmental aspect. So a lot of people that go, oh, wow, I'm going to buy from that. I feel terrible if I bought that other product, because Athik's really going down that path of, caring for the environment. And you just keep coming back to buy from them over and over again because you've built this connection with them. You want to work towards building a brand that will cultivate long-term and meaningful and sustainable customer relationships. So you want people to come back to you all the time. You want people to say, go and buy that Yeti mug. It was amazing. Go and buy any of their products. They would be so good. They cost a bit more, but they're so, so worth it. And you want people to have that relationship with you and your brand. Now, this is just a visual example of a brand that's on Amazon. You can all go and search them that do this really, really well. So they have branded every single aspect of their business and their products, and they sell a whole range of products. But they do everything from I've just taken as many screenshots as possible, from their images on their page through to a video that they had that's beautifully branded. You can see the logo there, through to their A+. It's all about the messaging, giving back. All of that. So all through to the storefront, every element of the storefront. This is their Instagram. So that's a really good example if you're thinking, well, how would I do Instagram for my brand? Go and check them out. But you can see when we visually look at all of this, even this is their ads as well. When we look at it all, we all know it's cohesive and it's one. And we can start to pick up what the messaging is straight away before we delve into the copy and all of those elements. So this is just a good visual example to show you, and definitely go and have a look at them. They sell really, really good stuff. And this is a very competitive market. These Italian coffee press makers, there's a lot of them. So they've really had to, and it's not really that different to anything else, but they've just done a really good job with their messaging. So you need to go and have a look at them if you want some inspiration. So in conclusion, the winning formula to go from Amazon seller to the extraordinary brand that you're going to be, that I know all of you can be, is going from building a positive brand experience to form that customer trust, to create the value, and then you're going to become recognizable and grow a loyal following. And that's what you want. You want to build and grow that loyal following. So at the end of the day, you are the creator of your brand. You know it best, so it's up to you to show the world. And I think that's really important. If you don't show your target audience and your customers what your brand is all about, no one else is going to do it. And you can stand by and say, I know I've got an amazing brand, so that you want to tell people about it. And if you don't do it, no one's going to, unfortunately. So make sure you put that effort in to show the world what it's all about. So that's the conclusion. That's my final slide there for you. If you want to find me somewhere, definitely find me on Instagram at the moment. I'm putting lots of tips and ideas and updates and things like that on there. You can also find me on Facebook, and you can like my page, and all of that content goes on there as well. And if you want to reach out to me, you can book some calls on my website, or the link is on the social media pages as well. So I hope everybody has enjoyed that and got something out of that. I will stop sharing my screen if I can. But hopefully that's helped someone.
Yes, that was amazing. That was really good. In fact, Daniel is saying great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of great information.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that Amazon's pushing us in this direction. And a lot of us don't notice that yet because we're just so busy with everything that's going on. But when you start to notice that the platform's taking that direction, they want those serious players on there, you realize you really need to go in that direction or you're going to get left behind. And I know we're going to start to see them becoming more difficult if we don't really show up as a proper brand. So you really want to get on it, and it's going to create that asset. Like if you ever wanted to sell your business, people are going to pay more money for a brand. It's a little bit like, I use this example of, if you're looking for a house and you go and see a house that's not very nice and you think, oh, it's got lots of potential, I could do it up. You put in a low price offer because I could buy that at a low price offer. I'm going to do it up and sell it for a high price. We know that example. And it's exactly like this. If you choose to sell your brand and you haven't implemented any brand strategy into it, someone will come along and buy it, but they'll look at it and go, there's a great opportunity for me to do something here. And someone will buy it, they'll do it up, and they'll likely sell it for more. So it's better off that you do this than
totally agree with you, Verity. Every month when we do a biz show and we bring on sort of new suppliers that we've sort of found in the backwoods, so to speak, and they show us, some of the beautiful stuff that artisans have made, and I just see all the time a brand story, and if someone,
absolutely,
and my mind just pops sometimes, and I think, wow, you could really build a brand on some of those products that are there, and in their niche.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for anyone that's thinking, well, how do I do that if I've got a product that's quite competitive? That last example with the coffee press is a great one to go and look at. There are lots of those. If you search that keyword, a lot come up. And their product is really not that different to the others. But they've really captured the audience because they stand out and they've been really consistent on every platform, every space they can. They've really represented themselves so they can sell at that higher price point. People have that trust with them. I think that was a question, wasn't there? I'm working on a wholesale catalog to sell my PL brand to brick and mortar. Besides what you've covered today, what else should I think about? So that's amazing, firstly, that you're going to want to go to brick and mortar. I think that's awesome. And this is a good point for everyone to think about. If you don't put a brand strategy behind your products, you'll never even consider going to brick and mortar. So brands that don't do it would say to me, oh, I couldn't, I'm not ready, I don't, how would I do that? So putting a brand strategy behind your products will enable you to think bigger. Where else can I sell? And that's really amazing that you can get other revenue streams. I think if you haven't already got this really strongly in place, so you don't have a brand strategy guideline, you don't have a visual board, all those kinds of things, then I think my advice would be to go even further than just the brand style of things, but also get into some of the technical things that come into the brand. So things like having a trademark could be really important, to have agreements in place. So they're not the really creative parts of your brand, but they are part of having a brand. So things like having agreements in place to say maybe you're the only seller on Amazon. So you've got the distribution rights to there. So if you sell to a brick and mortar, they don't suddenly show up on a platform like Amazon and sell against you. So sometimes those kinds of things are really important. And I've actually seen this where that hasn't happened and what goes on. So if you're going to go to brick and mortar, my advice would be to have a really strong brand strategy, which we talked about today, but then go even deeper. So, putting some of those legal bits in place and things like that, that all becomes part of your business and your asset that you own. Hopefully that's helpful.
Gayatri saying, thanks, Verity. Awesome strategy for brand building.
Fantastic.
It's very helpful. I need to rethink how to move forward.
Yeah, I think this is something that we just don't really talk about that much. And then when people do know that's right in front of them and it's something that they can definitely do, it's achievable. Or if you're feeling like your products is a bit tiring, this is really invigorating, exciting. You can build this beautiful brand, you know, so it helps you kind of really get excited about the next thing. So it definitely helps you to.
Does your product need to be unique and sexy for you to be able to make a brand, or can you do it for a, you know, plain old product like, I don't know, hardware items or, you know, something that's very,
You do not have to have the world's most amazing technical thing that no one's ever seen. You do not need to have that. You can brand something that is so simple that it can be a hardware thing. The main thing that you need to think about is who your target audience is. Because if you had a hardware, like let's just use an example, you might have hardware tools, you might sell a kit, but you're actually aiming towards women. You might be thinking, I'm going to go after women, have a little toolkit that they keep at home that they can use, you know, like around the house and things like that. You know, you will brand that totally different to, I'm going to have a toolkit for men that's, you know, for their man cave or, you know, something like that. So think about who your target audience is and then come back from that. But you can brand anything. It doesn't have to be the unique product, and it's just how you put across that messaging, the quality. So what does your photos look like? What's your visual elements look like? What is your logo? What's your tagline? You know, all those things. What are the colors that are in it? All those aspects, the tone of voice, you know, everything, it all adds up to a brand. So having that messaging in place is really important. But, you know, you do not have to have you know, like 20 products in your range. You can have just one simple product. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's seen those ads that have been recently on the TV here in Australia for the tradie, for the you know, the underwear guys, underwear and stocks. But it's a great branded advertisement.
Yeah.
Right? And the way that you know, the guy does the advert as a sort of tradie, and it's just, you know, the underpants and the socks. Yeah.
But like there again, that's a perfect example of knowing exactly who your target audience is, and they've really gone after that, you know, so it makes it a lot easier to identify with it. But that's why doing some competitor research, looking for other websites that inspire you and things like that, that will really give you some ideas of what people are doing. And also it will help you give you product ideas, how you can expand your category, what other people are doing, other services they might offer with the product, all those kinds of things. So spending some time and Googling and looking around, go on Pinterest, look on Etsy, go and look on all those places for competitors. You don't have to probably don't just stick with Amazon research. Actually go off and have a look at what people are doing, because often people do a really, really good job of their branding on their website. So definitely have a look off Amazon as well. So hopefully that's been helpful. And if anyone's got any questions, reach out to me. You can also email me at info@smartlittlespace.com. And if you need to book a call or something, you can do that as well. I'm more than happy to reach out with any questions anyone has, or put them in the group and I'll jump in there.
Yeah, let me just put your email address here. So it's info@smartlittlespace.com, right?
That's the one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, we're going to start wrapping up here. Go ahead.
I've just got one question for Verity. Verity, if I'm you know, just starting to get going on Amazon as a relatively newbie, and I am thinking of, you know, sort of brand, how would I sort of go about starting the conversation with you, and what could you do to help me in the first steps? What sort of budget would I sort of need to make those steps?
It totally depends. If you've got a really tight budget, which a lot of people do when they start out, or, you know, you want to create something that you might want to redo branding at a later point, you just want to have something there, you can definitely start to implement those strategies that were on the slides that said, you know, like these are all the steps that you can take, and you can start putting like a brand strategy document together and all those visual elements. And you can do a lot of that on Canva or in a document. So if you want to write a strategy, you can actually put it just in a document. If you want to go on Canva, there's even templates on there that you can use to create your brand. Another great tool to find is to go on to Etsy, and there's a lot of people that have created brand strategy documents on the templates, and they have all the questions. So you can actually purchase them. They're not that expensive. You can purchase them. They ask you a whole pile of questions, and you can fill them out for yourself. So that's actually a really great way if you're looking, like, if you want to do this from a cost perspective. That's probably where I'd start out. you can then create things like your logo on Canva, all those things. It's quite an affordable thing to do. You don't have to, and remember, you can evolve. Brands evolve. A lot of brands do. Even Meg would probably say, like, when she started to when she's now, like, she's got other ideas, how she wants her brand to look. Things evolve, and that will happen for you too. So don't be too harsh on yourself to get it perfect. Please don't try and get it perfect. Just do one thing at a time. Even if that's just, I'm going to get myself a logo. That's all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to get my logo and I'm going to choose 3 colors I love, and I'm going to use that for on everything, that visual aspect. That's a huge step forward. So I think that's probably some good simple tips to get started.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, colors are just so important for a brand. So you'll notice for our brands, for all the India sourcing brands we have, our colors are purple and gold. So you'll see purple, gold everywhere in whatever we do. Okay, Simone is asking. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Vibrant Indian colours.
Yes.
See, even Margaret and Megla, they sort of both, for some reason, they always have sort of, those sort of bright, vibrant colours about them.
Yeah, what's life without color, Kevin?
No, I know. You need to
do you provide services for creating a listing on Amazon, or does the listing have to be already there? Yeah, so maybe you can talk a little bit about your specific services and how you can help Amazon sellers or brands, not Amazon sellers. I don't do any of the listing setup, so I don't do any of the done for you. I've done a lot of that in the past, but I've kind of gone away from that space now. So the main thing that I do for clients now is that if you are already a brand, so you've already gone through some of this process and you're at that stage where you've got a lot of this together, and you've got between around 3 products under your belt, I run a course and one-on-one coaching together to teach you how to launch onto the platform. So a little bit of a different space now than what I used to do. But if you're wanting some of those services, then I can always recommend. There's lots of people that I know that we can recommend, and Megla knows lots of people as well, if you're wanting someone to create that design. But if you're wanting to chat to someone about this, I'm happy to jump on a call and go through this and give you some of the guidelines of how to implement it. But overall, I don't do any of the setup anymore. So hopefully that's helpful. Right.
I'm not sure if it is or not.
Simone, we generally recommend Aaron in our group, Aaron Hughes, and he's in fact going to be doing a webinar next week talking about A+ content. So yeah, he does listings, photography, videography, all of those things. So yeah, in case you're interested, we can.
Absolutely. What I might do actually is I might put a document together and I will load it. Give me a day or two. I'll load it under this video that everyone can watch back, and I'll put some of these steps there. So it gives you some things that you can go away, because I know when you're taking on information from a presentation, it's a lot. So let me put some stuff together so that you can all go ahead and really start to implement something if you're wanting to get started. Hopefully that's a helpful resource about how I would go about it and what I've done with clients in the past. So if that's helpful to anyone, I'll drop in something there for you.
Yeah, definitely. That would be helpful. And would you be okay to share the slides with everyone? So we could probably...
absolutely. Yeah, share the slides, because I think some of you might want to go back and have a look, especially towards the end. Some of those slides you might want to bullet point some of those things. So hopefully that's helpful.
So I'll add a link to the slides in the description of the post, so people can download them from there. Okay, before we sign off, I just want to remind everyone that we're doing a workshop with Verity in July, right? Is it July the next one?
Yeah, June, July, I think we were talking. So we'll see how we do.
It's not far away. It's frightening.
It's not far away. It's June, sorry. It's June. Yeah. So, June 19th and June 26th. So in case you're interested, she did a really, really good workshop a couple of months ago, and a lot of people found it very helpful. So check out this workshop, listing-workshop, and sign up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see everyone on there.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, well, Verity, thank you so much for your time today and sharing all this great information. It was
Thank you so much, everyone. It was great to jump on. I'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Verity. Fantastic. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.